Obviously emotional after, tonight. You leave everything out there, what's kind of your emotional state, mentality right now, trying to process this and how the season's going?
I want to go home and cuddle with my dog and watch some shows. I don't know what we lost a game. Something to work hard for throughout months, years. To have big games like this, try and go win, play your best. Each and every one of us. We came out with the loss today. So emotionally, I want to go home and I want to lay with my dog.
Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome everybody to the glorious episode of the Student Body Right USC podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, and as always, I am podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. PORSBR is my Twitter handle, and we have Evan Desai on the show again to kind of talking USC, and big news came out today. But first, we want to thank you for listening in cities like San Francisco, Carlsbad, California, Los Angeles, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Los Gatos, California, Portland, Oregon, New York. Let's see here, San Jose, California. We got Oklahoma City. Venables, listen. I know you listen to Venables. Gentry, Arkansas, Ontario, San Antonio, Texas, and Charlotte, North Carolina are all watching and listening to the Student Body Right USC podcast, the national brand that USC is. We all know that. So I recorded the show after the loss to Washington that, okay, we're not going to even talk about that show because it's never going to air. Because the next morning, I went to sleep instead of editing it and putting it on YouTube. The inevitable happened. So just like my football team, this channel's Raiders and USC, all the Raider fans knew that this Josh McDaniels thing was gonna happen, that he was not fit to be a head coach. We could have saved you years on your life, Lincoln Riley, if you just listened to everybody who was really trying to tell you after year one that the reason why you didn't make the playoff in year one, the only reason why, was because Alice Grinch was your defensive coordinator, and you were not able to just take the advice and just do it. Then after this season, just do it then, and just take advantage of it. Like, that was probably one of the worst defensive performances I've ever seen in my entire life last night against Washington. What are your thoughts about USC finally relieving Alice Grinch of his duties of defensive coordinator?
Well, I mean, the two of us have been saying this ever since the Pac-12 championship. The two of us weren't fans of the hire in general, and we were also not fans of retaining him, even for that bowl game against Tulane, And, since, that Pac-12 championship game, the defense has been pretty awful, except for the game against Nevada and Stanford. I would say they've been pretty bad in every other game that they've played in. You're looking at this team, and I guess the Utah game was kind of had some shared blame when it came to the loss. I feel like the offense and defense didn't play their best of their abilities, but the defense I still think was worse. And the problem is, what games has the offense not bailed out the defense in this year during the wins? Again, other than Nevada and Stanford have both sides came to play. Okay, San Jose State, offense bailed out the defense. Arizona State, offense bailed out the defense. Colorado, basically Arizona. People don't want to talk about that. That's basically what happened.
Yeah.
Cal, I mean, it's happened every game they've won this year, except for two against Stanford, who I don't even know what sport they're playing, and Nevada, who, was a 2-win team last year, really had no shot. So, I mean, this move needed to happen. Now is the right time to have it, because obviously your national championship hopes are basically completely dashed. Well, they are completely dashed. And at this point, if you want to win the conference, you don't control your own destiny. I believe the tiebreaker is going to decide that, even if USC wins out. So now's the time, if you want to try to, provide a spark and maybe finish strong and maybe be that 9-3 team like Utah that wins the conference championship. They did that 2 years in a row now. if you want any sort of shot, I mean, you got to at least try something different. And regardless, he just needs to go this time.
Yeah, it's just time. And it was, you could hear it in the broadcast that that you can just feel it. Like here's the thing. You shouldn't have to Caleb Williams should not have to be perfect. Like any quarterback should not have to be perfect to win. That's a lot to ask for him to be perfect. And he was nearly perfect. He was nearly, he nearly actually pulled it off. But like it's difficult to be perfect and not make a mistake for the entire game. And you know, it's just too much to ask for one guy. And there's just like Staples used to have that like easy button commercials that we press the button, it would just say it's easy, like whatever. Like there is an easier life to be had for Lincoln Riley. Like just put and like at least they're going to the Big Ten. At least they're going to the Big Ten with a real defensive coordinator. Like you cannot live this way when you're playing, Michigan, and you're playing, these teams who are just going to run the football because they don't have no quarterback. Like no, the teams in the Big Ten don't even have quarterbacks, so they're just going to run the football until you stop it. And once you stop it, then you can force them to then Barrel Alexander and all these guys can go after the quarterback. But it's just tough to. I mean, it was tough to watch for a year and a half, and I just feel like. And you saw the emotions kind of pour out, and of course people trying to clown Caleb Williams for that moment with his family and the crowd, but it just like I just feel bad that we wasted that brilliance, that like the best quarterback to ever play at SC that didn't even get a sniff at a champion and a sniff at a playoff.
I mean, it really does blow when that happens. We've unfortunately seen it happen. The one that comes to mind most recently for me is Lamar Jackson. Obviously, him winning 9 games the Heisman year, and then 8 games the next year. I don't even think they finished ranked in that next year. It just they weren't really able to capitalize on that, having that type of talent on their team. You don't want to see that happening at USC. Now USC's of course been a little bit better than that, winning 11 games last year. They're already at 7 this year. So they have opportunity to match that 8, potentially bring it to 9 with a bowl game win. But it was wasted talent in the sense that as we've been saying the whole time, if the defense is even just somewhat close to competent, this is a playoff team in both years. I understand that last year you could say, oh, well, Caleb Williams got hurt in the Pac-12 championship game. But the thing is, if the defense was literally 1 point better in that first Utah game, they're going to the playoff regardless. And
yeah, exactly.
I understand that game was decided by some awful calls, and it put the defense in some really bad spots. I know there was a hold on that last play, that Cameron Rising play, but at the same time, if the defense is just slightly better, that team's in the playoff. And I don't think that TCU or Michigan looked particularly dominant. I mean, Georgia was dominant; they were for sure. But even Ohio State competed with them. I'm not saying,
but I mean, no, go on. Finish your point. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah. So just like my point is like USC, if their defense was slightly better, even just slightly better last year than the 2.6 point improvement they have from 2021 to 2022, they would have been competing in the playoff with at least 3 of the teams in the playoff. Wow. So it's just like, you were so close with Caleb Williams. That's just why it stings so much. And you're seeing him show that emotion on the sideline after losses. And, you realize how much he cares and how much effort he's putting into this. It's just tough to see some of the other players not really playing as hard, and really due to the coach putting them in bad situations.
Yeah. And I was going to say about Georgia, as dominant as Georgia was, they had a 3-point victory. Last year's Georgia team had a 3-point victory where they had to score within the last 30 seconds against Missouri to stay undefeated. And then CJ Stroud tore them apart. And I mean, and that's when CJ Stroud, I was like, ding, like he should really be drafted pretty high. And you saw what he did today. That he ripped through the NFL today, 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. So, I mean, and that's why you want to just get to that game to give him a chance, give him an opportunity to do that. And you can see how dejected they were after that loss. I mean, the Utah loss was the biggest one because then I thought that was for sure. When you let the pig farmer go up and down the field. I mean, Oregon the following week destroyed Utah, and I saw that coming from a mile away because that player is not a top 150 quarterback in the NCAA. And I hate to rip Barnes like that, but he's not a big time quarterback. So you should be able to handle him. And the fact that he went up and down the field and even the scrambles, I'm like, dude, he's not running a 4.2 40. Like, what are we doing? So he's gone. And I think this shows a little, this shows growth from Lincoln Riley. I don't think Lincoln Riley would have done this if he was at Oklahoma. I think he would have just ruled it out. But I think he realizes that these recruits that are coming, these, the future of him at SC, I'm sure, the AD had conversation with him about it as well. But finally, he's gone.
No, yeah, and I think when you brought up Jen Cohen, I think that it's a big step for the entire athletic department essentially when a firing like this is made because your head coach should not be the only one making football decisions. You should have football people in your athletic department, smart people helping your coach make decisions, providing that coach resources to have success. We didn't see that under Lynn Swan. We saw a little bit under Mike Cohen, especially towards the end. But obviously Jen Cohen, I think she knows football. Obviously, I already knew she knew football, but I'm just saying, Lynn Swan, as much as he knew football, because obviously he's an NFL Hall of Famer and amazing college player and everything, he just made terrible decision after terrible decision after terrible decision. He was so complacent with it. Jen Cohen loses 3 games, and again, I think she was probably part of the decision in Lincoln Riley's ear, telling him, we got to make a change. I think the athletic department came together to make a good change like that. So I think that's a healthy spot to be in if you're USC, especially when you're embarking in something big next year. You're going to the Big Ten, and this is your opportunity. Obviously, right now they're going to go with Odom and Sean Newell, who don't have a ton of experience with this type of stuff, but you have an opportunity in the off season you have the resources to make a big hire. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how good they really are.
Yeah, I do think and Cohen did hire Kalen DeVore,
right,
the head coach. So she knows, and Washington has been very good under him. I think he is 8-1 against ranked opponents. So that says that's all you need to say about any head coach in college football. How they do against ranked opponents? Well, their coach is 8-1. So good for him, and he's been fantastic as far as that goes. Shout out to the guy. I gotta find out who he is, but shout out to the guy who, when people were clowning Caleb Williams for crying, he edited a video on YouTube to show all these great athletes crying on the field in moments where they won or lost games. So just to show like you can have emotion and cry during because they put so much into it, like we don't even know. Like we don't even, like Caleb Williams literally eats, sleeps, drinks it, gets up 5:30 in the morning every day doing all these workouts, all this stuff like that. Like all we see is the end result. Like we can listen to a Dr. Dre album, listen to a Kendrick Lamar album, and we listen to the end result. Like we don't know when they're in there going through song after song after song trying to find samples and everything and maybe this needs a live guitar and all the stuff like that goes into it. We don't see that part of it. We just see the end result. So it's good to see that they actually are doing this. What do you feel about who that next that next DC could possibly be for USC? Because everybody's gonna talk about Leonard until the cows come home.
Yeah, obviously, I think he needs to be the number 1 choice, especially because he's available. He's not hired by anybody right now, so if he's interested, that's the move you got to make. I think if Dave Aranda does get fired, that's another move you really need to pursue.
He's from Baylor, right? Okay, yeah,
right. He won a national championship at LSU as a defensive coordinator. I thought he did an incredible job there. I think he's a great defensive coach. Obviously him being from LA, or being from somewhere in Southern California, he gets it over here, just like Jen Cohen does. So, I like that. And another one that's interesting, and it's kind of a little bit complicated that I want to talk about is Ed Orgeron. I know that when the Tulane loss happened last year, back when I was covering USC, I wrote an article saying the 2 defense coordinators USC should move on from Alex Grinch for. I included Ed Orgeron in one of them. And after I wrote that article, it seemed to be getting very good feedback. A lot of people wanted Ed Orgeron. I still see that, which we'll get to. But then I had heard that somebody had informed me that there were some off the field issues that he had. Now, I had heard about some off the field issues, but they weren't all that serious. One of them was that he was in a relationship with an adult star. Another one was that he was letting kids come to practice. So I was like, I'm not really sure how serious that is. Then I was informed that he was dealing with something more serious, and that seemed obviously like a big deal. But I was just thinking about it, and I haven't heard anyone else in the media really talk about that. I don't know what exactly is happening with that. I don't know how serious it truly is.
Yeah.
And if he really is dealing with some really serious stuff off the field, they need to stay away from him, especially after what just happened with Mike Bone.
Yep.
But I do think that
Exactly.
they should keep the tires on him and find out how serious those off the field issues are. Because, if there isn't anything to him, then I think he'd be a great candidate. I think he was a great DC for USC in the past. I think he was a great position coach for USC in the past. There's nobody who can recruit really much better than him at all in this entire country, especially you put him in California, where Southern
Why is
California.
he so? Why is he can barely speak. How he can barely speak and hold a sentence. It is something about that dude when he gets on the phone with somebody who makes him want to come to their team. Because wherever he is, why does Ed Orgeron just recruit so goddamn well, dude? He's something else with the recruiting.
No, it's crazy. And even like some of the times you'll hear about like guys that he almost had. And it's like, oh my God, he recruited so and so and so and so and so and so. And he almost had, like, one of them was Adrian Peterson. He's telling the story about that. It's just crazy.
Yeah,
It's like,
I
he
heard that
was
one. I
not
heard
only
that
is he
one.
so dominant in bringing guys to
Yeah,
USC, but he was even close on so many other guys. It's crazy. And I just think like he's been the perfect fit there. So again, if these off-field issues are legit, they are not good, then they should really be staying away from him. If it's kind of smaller stuff where that realistically just isn't going to fly under Lincoln Riley, then they need to consider it. And I will say I have asked some other people in USC media, one of them who covered USC during the time when Ed Orgeron was here, his entire tenure here, and he did not have those concerns. He just thought, I had asked him about this well over a year ago, before last season even started, and he was like, "Oh, I'm just not thinking about that. You can't fire Grinch yet." So I haven't heard. I don't know how serious that is. If it is
yeah,
very serious, again, stay away. But I
yeah,
at least want USC to look into it if Jim Leonard or Dave Aranda is not there.
yeah. It's interesting because like you don't have to like get permission to talk to Jim Leonard. He's not with anybody right now, so you have to investigate why he's not with anybody right now. I think that's something that you got to do. I'm going off a list that I just saw on the internet with Morgan Scaly, who is the DC in Utah. Would he leave Utah to come to SC? That's a question. Tony White, who's the defensive coordinator at Nebraska. You got Tony Gibson, who's at NC State. Joe Rossi, who's in Minnesota right now. So look at that one, and then obviously Leonard would be there. So some of these guys already have jobs. I know that Baylor might get rid of their head coach, so that would be a guy who would be a candidate as well. But I think there's no that's like I said, like with the donors, with the alumni, they would cut the check for Jim Leonard to come. Like they would, like for me, like nobody's really gonna care. Like he should not care who runs the defense. Like I mean, like as long as and I think you have to have a squeaky clean kind of guy too. Like I think with Jen Cohen too, they're gonna do the due diligence to the background of everybody, because if you look at the Harbaugh situation, they're about to. I'm getting information that they're going to suspend him indefinitely. Like that could possibly be coming. So if he gets suspended indefinitely, like that's just you can't. That is just that the NCAA clearly wants Harbaugh out. And the presidents are like at Michigan, they're saying other things like, hey, like, okay, you want him out, but like, where's the due diligence on the whole thing? Like the whole thing between it's a Hatfield and McCoy. It's like whatever's going on between Michigan and Ohio State has definitely bled over off the field into some old kind of craziness. So we'll see what happens there. But we talked about Dallas Grinch. He's no longer employed. He's hella rich, so whatever. I don't feel bad. Um, but For Lincoln Riley, like how does he kind of rally the troops as far as like there's 17-point dogs at Oregon. Like Oregon's gonna smash them. Oregon's gonna smash them in this game. How does he keep this team together in this moment here? Because it's really hard to like this team had so much high hopes. And now it's just now they I mean they could end up being like a 5-loss team. I mean that's a real they haven't beaten a ranked team all year. So people are just trying to like giving like, hey, they can beat USC, they can beat UCLA. Like my guy, like UCLA is not a given with this current state of the USC defense.
Yeah, I think so. What you want from this rest of this USC season, there's 2 regular season games left. Okay. Obviously, you got to win out just for, you always want to win every game, but in
Yep.
particular, if you want to try to make a Pac-12 championship game and maybe cause a little bit of chaos, you need to have that the type of thing that you mentioned the Raiders earlier. I used to cover the Raiders. You want exactly what Antonio Pierce just did today. You want that jolt of excitement, that jolt of passion, energy to just show up on the field and just put a hurting on somebody. You need that right away, and that's possible to have right away because the team should be feeling incredibly energized because now they don't have to deal with the guy who was very obviously confusing them on the entire defensive side of the ball. That very obviously had them not knowing what they were doing. They were not having fun out there. I want what Dante Williams did against Washington State. I want Brian Odom and I want Sean Newell to go in and change something right away. I know
Yep.
that what Dante Williams did, he said, what do you say? They were like stepping on the USC logo in the locker room. That was like a big thing. And he put ropes around it. You don't step on this logo. I want them to do something to establish discipline, passion, pride for the program right away. That
Yeah.
way you can maybe light that spark. And of course, I don't expect Odom and Sean Newell to be the co-DCs next year, but I want them to just provide some sort of spark right now to at least get something in the short term, at least get guys playing hard. Because when I say that these guys weren't playing hard, it's not that I don't think they were trying. It's that, so the Washington running back, I'm killing myself. I don't know why I forgot his name, but he said that as soon as the ball is snapped, USC's defense is moving backwards. That's true. I'm sure you know that. Everyone watching this knows that.
Exactly.
To me, I had noticed this during the game, obviously, as everyone did. What I think is the problem is I don't think they know how to tackle. I don't think they know where they're supposed to be, how to tackle. And I think they're afraid of making a mistake. And so that's just leading them to, number one, not get off blocks fast. Number two, not run towards the ball. And number three, not necessarily be scared, but be really timid and just kind of shy away from the action. Hope somebody else makes a play. I think that if you can just get guys actually wanting to be there, be willing to take those risks and play hard, you got nothing to lose. So I want them to kind of establish that sort of mentality. And that starts with also Lincoln Riley. Just reminding these guys that you guys are talented. You guys are, if not the most talented roster in the Pac-12, certainly a close second to Oregon. Like you were in the game,
Yeah.
I've won however many Power 5 conferences. I have a track record to this. We can do this. Let's get after it. You got nothing to lose, just ball.
Yeah, Dylan Johnson is 26 carries, 256 yards, 9.8 yards per carry and 4 touchdowns. And I think the biggest frustration for me in this game is that like for 2 weeks in a row, the opponents for Washington, including Arizona State, the prior week, gave you the blueprint. Like they held Washington to 7 points. That's why I think I think before the show started, I said Oregon's the best team in the Pac-12 because Washington can be had. Like he's not a runner, he's a pass. He's really a pocket passer. They depend so much on the back shoulder play that like it's kind of a lot. And I feel like and they're one of the worst rushing teams in the nation. So like obviously. And I kind of feel like with the emotions that he showed, Alex Grinch showed on the sideline, I think he knew before the game. I think that he knew that like if they didn't have a good performance this week, that he was that it was it. I think so, and I think the way he talked about, I don't want to talk about any big picture stuff, like those kind of things. Like I kind of felt like, yeah, that's kind of it. That's kind of it. But I'm still, I talked to a scout, and I talked about self scouting, and he said it's a dying art. And I think that that's something that self-scouting, it really is a dying art. And I think that that's what Lincoln Riley needs, is somebody like to like self, like, hey, this is what you do a lot. And like, and going away from the run is something he does all the time. And I'm looking at the stats in this game, and Austin Jones, Delron Barlow, who's like a crowd favorite, 2 carries, 44 yards, 22 yards a carry. Then you got Austin Jones, 11 carries, 127 yards. I haven't even did my deep dive into the stats yet, but like, I can guarantee you all those carries are in the first half. I don't remember him. I don't remember him even carrying the ball in the second half of the game. Like, he just, why are we going away from the run so dramatically? It just boggles my mind why they do that. But, and then why not? Because I mean, like, you had some, if you're gonna have Willie Brown dress for the game, and you amp him up to say, hey, we're dressed for the game, because they really didn't miss Marshawn Lloyd in this game at all. Where's the package for him? Where the package for him? Like, I'm happy I saw some Deuce Robinson in the game, but like, you know, you gotta, it's just more you can do. He needs to like kind of look at it. I think him making that move silences the crowd of like people who are saying that he would leave USC after to go to NFL. I think it's pretty clear he's not going anywhere, because you don't make that move if you're leaving the program.
No, yeah, he's not definitely not going anywhere. At least not next year. It's tough. I mean, with Raleigh Brown, I mean, we all talk about how great, how dynamic Zachariah Branch is, as we should. You know, the way I see it, Zachariah Branch is your Zachariah Branch on the outside. Raleigh Brown is your Zachariah Branch in the backfield. You should be using them accordingly. Okay. Raleigh Brown is the type of freak talent Zachariah Branch is, and you can have him in the backfield. I know they played him at receiver a little bit this year, but like, there's so much you can do with him. And it just goes back to your frustration, a lot of fans' frustration with not running the ball. The only explanation I can give to maybe why they aren't running the ball as much is because they ran it a lot against Notre Dame and it didn't work out. But I mean, neither did passing the ball against Notre Dame. So I don't really think it was just that. I think the offensive line struggled in both aspects, pass blocking and run blocking. Like, you got to run until they can stop you. And I think that Washington, they were lining up under center a bunch during the game. I think USC needs to start lining up under center sometimes. I think you got to, if you want to be physical, you got to line up under center at least occasionally, and you got to run the ball until they can stop it, as we discussed. And hey, if it's first down and you get a 1 yard run or whatever, okay, maybe then you can start. It's fine if you want to pass a second down, but when you're running back-to-back runs and you're running well and you're moving the chains, run the football, or you break one for 15 yards, whatever, run it again. Like, let's see them stop it, because this offense has proven they have the concepts to do it.
I was saying, I mean, like, this is the reason why I have Evan on the show, because I've been saying that for so many times. I'm not saying go under center all the time. I'm just saying, just occasionally, just some time. I'm telling you, with the weapons that they have next year coming out. So I mean, I'm not sure about if Taj is a senior or junior or whatever. But we know Zachariah is not draft eligible. We know Deuce Robinson is going to be back. People like that are going to be there. Dorian Singer, I think, is a senior. Let me go look at it real quick. I didn't realize Hudson was a sophomore, but Dorian Singer is probably going to the draft. Brendan Rice is gone. Michael Jackson, he could possibly stay because he's a junior. Mario Williams is probably gone. Taj is a senior. Like, I mean, you're talking about Jacoby Lane and people like Makai Lemon. Like, you have opportunities to, like, really a new group coming in. They probably need a veteran with that group. They probably need a veteran transfer to come in to be like solidify the wide receiver core. But there's so many weapons out there. Like, you got to be able to, like, I think that little wrinkle of just like being under center sometimes is just a really nice one, man. It really, I mean, a play action, just a regular old fashioned play action fake. It's just gonna like with Zachariah Branch, people like that. It's gonna be so much, but it's what it is. As far as that goes, we know that when we look up the coaching staff, we don't have to see Alex Grinch's face anymore. And I think that's like a good thing, for USC to kind of move on from it. I mean, it's interesting to see how he handles this whole situation. As far as talking to the media. Listen, that's his boy. He's trying to protect his boy. I wish he just. I wish. I think he was really. He had that article, I think, by the guy from LA Times wrote talking about like his friend who passed away, the really close the close coach he had who passed away. I
Right.
understand. I understand like it's a human element to it, but like after last year, man, it's about winning games and playing Eric Gentry. Because he makes shit
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
He makes shit happen as far as that goes. Anything else you want to talk about before we head out?
Play Eric Gentry. I mean,
Play,
he's
play
played
Eric
well. While you
Gentry.
giving him the chance.
Play Eric
Only
Gentry
been,
and play Rajon Davis too. I mean, those
yeah,
guys.
let's see
Yeah,
him out there.
let's see him out
Yeah.
there, dude. His dad is he a junior? He's a junior, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
they're gonna have to really, and I think also too, like when they brought in, I was like, who's 23? Like Figgins came in and open field tackle just wrapped up and just put somebody down. I was like, oh, is that actually like why is he sitting on the bench? Like, SC needs to get back to playing the best person. And
Yeah.
that's what USC is about, playing the best people. As far as that goes. And I gotta see one more name. I gotta see. Hopefully he's out of here next year. Or where is his name? Oh, Bryson Shaw. I can't wait to give you. I personally want to give Bryson Shaw his degree because I can't. Because he needs to go and be a doctor or a lawyer. All
Well,
right.
he's a Grinch guy. He came from Ohio State with Grinch, so
Oh
maybe he won't get much playing time now that Odom and New are running the charge.
no, we can't have that anymore. All right, folks. As always, fight on. The Grinch Who Stole Christmas is out of here.
Peace out.
Peace.